Good morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, November 22nd. Looking at our precipitation the past 7 days, significant amounts across southern areas. Areas in the yellow here, 1.5 to 2 inches of precipitation, otherwise a ½ inch or more in melted form. In the green, tapers off quite a bit as you head towards Idaho and northern Nevada. A lot of that was in the form of snow. We'll talk about that in a moment. Significantly above normal and below normal for the week. You can see here on the key. Looking at snowfall the past 72 hours, significant amounts higher terrain of southern central Utah. Dark red indicates 2 to 3 feet of snowfall. And even up here in the yellows, anywhere from 6 to 12 to 8, even 18 inches across the Uintas and the Wasatch, and also some of the higher terrain of eastern Nevada as well. And this tapers off quite a bit as you head further into Idaho and Wyoming. Snow cover on the map significantly widespread, several inches across the higher terrain of eastern Nevada, and much deeper, although not as much aerial extent, across the higher terrain of Utah. But again, it gets deep quite a bit as you head further up into western Wyoming and into parts of Idaho. Looking at the satellite imagery, there's a storm system now departing, but here's the new storm system dropping down from the north, which will be affecting us by next week. It'll actually combine with this weak circulation off the southern California coast. In the meantime, we'll be between low pressure and high pressure with some light winds and kind of marginal dispersion conditions over the next couple of days. You can see how much the 100-hour fuels have moistened up quite a bit with that precipitation. It's still the driest areas are 11 to 15% on the 100-hour fuels across parts of Nevada. The 1,000 hours have taken a little longer to respond, so they're still in the single digits across much of Nevada, but they'll gradually be changing. They've come up quite a bit, 11 to 15%, and even higher as you head further north and east. So for today, again, we're in between departing low pressure here into the plain states and the new front dropping down out of the Pacific Northwest. So dry, still some lingering clouds trapped under the system, light winds. On the right, notice the dispersion. Lots of areas in the red that indicates fairly poor dispersion. Best areas would be across the eastern portions of the Great Basin. Light winds is the main feature, main reason for the poor dispersion. Vertical mixing will be a few thousand feet above ground level, where you see the green, yellow to orange shades, again best further to the east. Back to the winds, we do notice some stronger winds here locally out of the north and west in the lee of the Wasatch. That'll be the only area that'll have some good winds, also in parts of western Wyoming, but those are just localized effects. Similar story for tomorrow, in between low pressure and a front coming to our north and kind of a weak high pressure building in, so dry overall, but still pretty poor dispersion where you see the red to purple shades. Best dispersion areas actually across southern Nevada, where they could see some good sunshine and good surface heating. They'll see some winds mixing down there as well with that surface heating, otherwise very light and variable winds, long-lasting inversions further to the north. Vertical mixing also in those northern areas takes a hit, but is best across southern parts of Nevada, Arizona Strip, and far southwest Utah. Not much change, although there's developing moisture. This front's dropping down. This jet stream is pushing a bit further south. This low here is pushing up some moisture from the subtropics, so we'll have to watch that for next week. It'll all come together by Monday, so remember this map. Dispersion gets a little worse across Nevada, so areas in the yellow to white where you can find them will offer the best dispersion. That's where there'll be some winds and some decent mixing heights, otherwise very low mixing heights and very light winds further south. The Utah Clearing Index shows that today's the best day with those green to yellow shades, mainly east of the Wasatch, but it gets worse as you go through the weekend. Very light precipitation amounts the next 3 days from Friday morning through Monday morning, but notice that by Monday, much more moisture across the area. This storm track has dropped further south, deepening moisture coming up from the south. Notice the areas in white, excellent overall dispersion. If it's not precipitating on you Monday, you could have a pretty good burn day going on. And notice that by Tuesday, expanding area of green, deep moisture, deepening low pressure over the Pacific Northwest. We see these areas in green. It's probably overcast with steady precipitation falling. And again, overall dispersion is good. And that storm track, storm just slows down right off the California coast, so it continues to wrap up moisture into the Great Basin Wednesday and even into Thanksgiving Day. Widespread rains and mountain snows where you see that dark green shade. This will be a very large, long-lasting storm system. Will totally change our burn landscape with a lot more snow cover and a lot more moisture in a lot of areas. So anybody planning any burning, you probably want to get it done before the storm moves in by the middle of next week. Dispersion on the right-hand side. Precipitation amounts, this is basically Monday night through Wednesday night. You notice starting to see some dark greens to blues. That's a quarter to a half inch of precipitation, or roughly 3 to 6 inches of snow in those areas. But notice how much more we get, especially across southern and central areas with that deepening storm system. The areas in red, actually over 3 inches of precipitation. That would be 3 feet of snow in some of the higher terrain of southern Utah, and probably 1 to 2 feet across the Wasatch into western Wyoming. Still keeping northwest Nevada the only dry spot across the region. The 8 to 14-day outlook continues to show a sharply colder than normal profile across much of the west, including the Great Basin. Also wetter than normal conditions centered across the southern 2/3 of the region. So once winter sets in by early to middle next week, it's going to stick around into the first week of December. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.